Did you know that there are lessons about financial freedom that we can learn from farming? I like to think about how everything reminds us of everything else. All principles are microcosms of each other. If you can find something that works in one arena and you put it in another arena, it'll still work. So for those of you who've been working for a long time to create wealth for your family, which by the way, I'm going to do a whole video on this, like wealth is no longer an option play. It's an absolute necessity. And all you have to do is keep on living, and you will find out exactly what I mean, because the dollar's becoming worth less and less over time. Our children are getting older and having requirements, and then we're gonna have grandchildren that also have requirements. And then our parents get older and they've got requirements. And if you don't have some money, like I'm not talking about Lamborghinis. I mean, Lamborghinis are nice, I guess. I've never owned one, but they're nice, and nice cars are nice. I've got some nice cars. But I'm telling you, just to be able to live, like wealth is no longer an option play. It's a basic bread and butter mandatory play. And so what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about something as basic to life as farming. Now, I'm no expert on farming from the standpoint of being a farmer. I did work on a farm when I was 19 for a whole day. And I prayed to God all that day, Lord, if you deliver me from this, I promise you I will not tempt you by coming back here tomorrow. But there are some lessons that I've learned about farming from the Bible. There are some lessons that I've learned about farming by just studying the history of economies that I believe if we apply these 4 foundational principles to our finances, it's going to be really, really hard for us not to create the wealth that's essential for future us. You for future you, me for future me. So, the laws of the farm. That's, if I'm going to title this, I'm going to call it the laws of the farm, because all principles are microcosms of each other. There are laws that govern the universe. The universe is not God. God is the king that governs the laws of the universe. Okay, so the foundations of financial fortunes found on the farm. The first one is the law of seasons. Seasons are the framework that make farming possible. In fact, if you go back far enough in history, we go back to Genesis chapter 9, we see that God, I believe, lifted the curse off of the earth in Genesis 9:22. He lifted the curse off of the earth. And before that, it seems like there was no predictability of seasons before the flood. There was no predictability of seasons. After man sinned, before the flood, there's no predictability of seasons, which made farming very, very hard. Can you imagine if everything was random, if seasons were random, and today it's 32 degrees and tomorrow it's 82 degrees, and then the next day it's 75 degrees, and the next day it's 10 below zero? How, now you say, like, I believe that life was so hard pre-flood, post-Garden of Eden, pre-flood, life was so hard that people wondered if they were going to be able to exist, because the ground wasn't yielding like it was in the garden, and there was no predictability of seasons. I don't believe, because God said that from now on, there's going to be predictability of seasons. So you go read it for yourself. From Genesis 5 to Genesis 9, you'll see what I'm talking about, hopefully. Okay, so the seasons are the framework. So we have 4 seasons. How many seasons do we have? Talk to me, everybody. How many seasons we have? We have 4 seasons. The 4 seasons begin at the beginning of the year. It's January. So we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. These are the frameworks, just like we have winter, spring, summer, and fall on the farm. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall in our business. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall in our lives, or summer and autumn, if you want to call it autumn. We literally have these 4 seasons in every aspect of our lives, and what we have to do is we have to be doing the right thing in the right season if we're going to reap a harvest. Because if we're not doing the right thing in the right season, then if we're doing the right thing in the wrong season, no harvest. If we're doing the wrong thing in the right season, no harvest. The harvest comes from the right thing in the right season. So the first season is winter. What does winter represent? Winter represents the law of hardship. Isn't it fascinating that the first season is winter? It's also fascinating that if you read Genesis, the scripture says, Genesis chapter 1, over and over and over again, it says, and the evening and the morning were the first day. It didn't say the morning and the evening. Now we think, well, the morning and the evening is the first day. But not in God's economy, the evening and the morning are the first day. Why? Because God is showing us in his economy and in his ecology, things go from hard to easy, from dark to light, from bad to better. And so we have to understand that hardship and winter are a season. We don't want to think that hardship and winter are the experience. Hardship and winter are a part of the experience. And they're a part of the experience that's absolutely necessary to make the rest of the experience work. You've probably heard me talk about a principle that I like to call the easy hard principle. What's the easy hard principle? Easy on the front end equals hard on the back end. Everybody has it hard. People who succeed have it hard. The people who fail have it hard. The people who succeed have it hard on the front end and easy on the back end. The people who have it easy, the people who have it easy on the front end have it hard on the back end, and they do the hard easy. They go easy hard. But your life is going to be so much better if you're willing to go hard easy. Hard easy. If you go from hard to easy, your life gets better. So you have to be willing to sacrifice. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. You have to be willing to do the hard things on the front end. No, the reason when you get started in business, it feels so difficult is because it's so difficult. Why? I just wanted to make sure y'all didn't miss that. Okay, so, and the reason it's so difficult is because you're overcoming inertia. So what's inertia? Inertia is an object at rest will remain at rest. How long? Until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. So you get ready to start a business, you have business inertia. You have lead generation inertia. You have profitability inertia. You have money inertia, right? Nothing's moving, and you got to go it's not. I'm not going to chase a rabbit. It's not going to get better just by leaving it alone. The only thing that can overcome inertia is energy. And energy is always intentional. So intention is required for improvement. But for digression, only neglect is necessary. The only thing you have to do for things to get worse is nothing. Wrap your mind around that. The only thing you or I have to do for things to get worse in our lives, financially, physically, in our relationships, in our family, the only thing we have to do is nothing. Because inertia exists in the wintertime. And life is hard. Life is hard because you have to exert energy. And guess what happens when you first start exerting that energy to overcome the financial inertia in business? Guess what happens at first? Nothing. You hurt your shoulder. Make your back hurt. It's just, you attempt to move this big old ginormous thing called a business. And you've never had a business before. You've worked a job, and you thought because you're good at doing the job that you'd be good at running the business, and you find out running the business ain't nothing like doing the job. It doesn't even remotely resemble the same thing. I know how to do the work, but I don't know how to get the client to do the work for. Can I get a witness? Amen. And so, what happens is, when it's winter in your business, that's when people quit. Can I recommend something to you? If you're going to quit on top. Yes. If you're going to quit when it's easy. Don't quit when it's hard. Why? Because, see, inertia can't get any stronger than it already is, but you can. What? Inertia can't get any tougher, but I can. And what I have to do to get tougher is I have to keep running into that obstinance to my objective long enough, and eventually it will give a little. And once it gives a little, I've overcome inertia, and I've got a little bit of momentum. Now, when all you have is inertia, everything feels hard. But when you have momentum, things don't only feel easy, things feel effortless. When you have no financial momentum, when you have financial inertia, making money feels like the hardest thing in the world. It feels like I could turn a stick into a diamond before I could make some money if I have financial inertia. Are y'all tracking? Is what I'm saying making sense? Yeah. And then when I overcome inertia and I have momentum, it seems like wealth chases me. And I can't run fast enough to get away from it. And I know that sounds, if you're not experiencing that right now, I know it sounds ridiculous to you. That's okay. I'm not even trying to persuade you that that's true. But here's my desire to persuade you is this. Don't quit in the wintertime. That's the law. Wintertime is hardship. That's the time of hardship. But you go from winter to what? What's the next season? Spring. Oh, see, the wintertime is the law of hardship, but the springtime, that's the law of hopefulness. We plant in the spring so we can harvest in the fall. Now, what if I didn't believe that harvest time was coming? Would I plant? No. It's my ability to anticipate a future harvest that gives me the willingness to release my seed to the soil today. I'm going to do the work today that's not working for me, but working on me, because I believe there's going to come a time when what's working on me will work for me. And if I can overcome the temptation to quit because it's cold and the ground is hard and nothing wants to move, if I can resist that temptation, if I can resist the temptation to believe that the contributing factors are the determining factors, what does that mean? There are two types of factors. There are contributing factors and there are determining factors. You have zero control over the contributing factors in your life. But you have control over the determining factors. The contributing factor is the economy. The contributing factor is who gets elected. The contributing factor is you lost your job. The contributing factor is you may have some kind of physical so-called disability. Those are contributing factors. You're a man, you're a woman, you're black, you're white. Those are contributing factors. And yes, we can, and I know people will disagree with me about this, but that's okay. They've been wrong before, they can be wrong again. Those are contributing factors. Like if being a minority didn't stop slaves from freeing themselves, how can we pretend that it's going to stop us? And I know some. By the way, while I'm talking to black people and minorities, Asians, Hispanic, while I'm talking to us, I want to say to all my white friends, my beautiful white brothers and sisters, hold your peace. It's not your place to tell black people to get over it, any more than it's anybody's place to tell Jews to get over what happened to them. That's not the point. You're missing the point. Black people, stop waiting for white people to understand your plight and trying to persuade them that you don't understand how much I've been through. Why do you need somebody else to know that? Let's do this. Let's answer to God and act like it only matters what he thinks about us, since pretty much it only matters what he thinks about us. Anyway. That's a contributing factor. I had polio as an infant. I've got this brace on my leg. I can't lift my leg by my leg. I can lift my leg by my hand. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Okay, so like that leg can't hold itself up, right? However, and I know on YouTube y'all couldn't see that, but trust me, okay, it can't. This leg can't hold my weight. Like when I'm in the morning moving around before I put my brace on, I'm walking on crutches in my own house. But that's a contributing factor. It's not a determining factor. My life is bad because I was born in the segregated hospital and black people weren't allowed to be born in Tampa General and I've worked with a brace my whole life and I couldn't get a good job because they can't carry heavy things. I could do that, but what's it going to do? It's going to give me an out that I don't even need. The obstacle that the enemy sent to stop you, God sent the enemy to put that there so you could show the enemy that you can stomp what he sent to stop you. It's a contributing factor. So the springtime is the time of hopefulness. Springtime is when I'm writing the book and hoping that it's going to sell. Springtime is where I'm creating the content for my course that I'm going to sell. Springtime is when I'm learning the skills that are going to help me go acquire their clients and get a transformation for them. That's the springtime. Springtime is a time when I'm filled with hope, where the future looks bright, and I just got out of the wintertime, and I know it's going to be at least 3 more seasons before winter comes back. I've got some time to get momentum on my side. That's springtime. It's a time of hopefulness. It's a beautiful framework when you understand that hard comes first and hopefulness comes second. But you realize that if it weren't for the hard, you wouldn't need to feel the hopeful. It's the hard that makes us desire the hopeful. Imagine if you started out easy, you wouldn't even be tempted to, you'd be like, well, things are going to be all right, because they've always been all right. We have to understand how God. Now, guess what? There's a season after hopeful, and during the season after hopeful, we have to cultivate the garden, we have to cultivate the farm, but we don't have to plant any seeds. What's the season after spring? Summer. That's the law of happiness. You get to enjoy the work that you've done as you anticipate the fruits of your labor in just a little while from now. I can remember when I used to hope it was going to work. I remember when it started working a little, and I got, this is working. I remember I built my first website on the internet. And I know a lot of people don't like network marketing, multi-level marketing. I don't necessarily like it for me, but I believe it's one of the best business models in the world as a transition space for people to become entrepreneurs, because you will learn skills there that you're not going to learn anywhere else. Like if you're going to do network marketing, I mean, could you make a lot of money? You could. That's but the skills that you're going to gain are going to be worth more than the money that you're going to make. The skills that I learned in that arena, the skill of selling, the skill of recruiting, the skill of team building, the skill of encouraging people and believing in people and pushing up people, all of that stuff that I learned in my network marketing, multi-level marketing, and direct sales days, those are very beneficial to me in my life today. Way more than the money I made. And I made decent money. I made more money doing multi-level marketing than I ever made doing a job. And some people say, yeah, but only the people at the top make money. Only the people at the top of anything make the significant money. There's nobody in Facebook that makes as much as Mark Zuckerberg. Let's don't be confused about it. That sounds like a pyramid. Show me a business that's not. Show me a business that has more people at the top than at the bottom. One business. It could be real estate. It could be like, let's stop being so delusional, and let's do this also. Let's grow into a belief that maybe there's something more valuable that comes from work than just the money. Because one of the things that I learned how to do when I was doing multi-level marketing was I learned how to stop working for money. What does that mean? I learned that there are better reasons to work, to learn a new skill, to build a relationship, to build a system that would pay me when I'm done working on it. Like, all of those things are reasons why I'm able to write books now and I don't have to wonder if they're going to sell. Because the anticipation of the fall gives me the ability to take the action in the spring and be happy in the summer when the publisher, or not the publisher, the printer and the book designer and the editor, they're doing their part. That's my summertime. Because I'm done planting the seed. I'm done writing the part I'm supposed to do. And now they're just like massaging it over and making it look like I want it to look. And the illustrators and all that stuff is coming together. I'm in summertime. And then you launch it. Oh my goodness, and then it takes off. So we have winter. That's the hardship season. Or the law of hardship. And then we have the springtime. That's the law of hopefulness. Then we have summertime. That's the law of happiness. And then we have the autumn, the fall. What is that? That's the laws of harvest. Now, God told Noah, Noah's name means rest, by the way. When Noah was born, his grandfather, I think it was, told his father, maybe it was his father, I don't remember, but either his father or his grandfather said, this same one shall comfort us concerning our toil and the earth which the Lord has cursed. That was the prophecy on Noah's life when Noah was born. So what's going to happen? So when I read that, I'm like, okay, I've been reading the Bible for decades before I ever noticed that verse. I'm like, what's Noah going to do to relieve the hardship? But when Noah got off the ark and he made an altar and he sacrificed on the altar, the scripture says that God said, I will no more curse the earth anymore as I've done it. But as long as the earth lasts, day and night, cold and hot, summer and winter, springtime and harvest, shall not cease as long as the world lasts. Which tells me that it didn't last. It wasn't like that before he said that. At least that's what it seems to imply. Now, because of that, we can anticipate that there's going to come a time in the future where I'm going to benefit from all this work I've done. And by the way, people say, yeah, Myron Golden was an overnight success. I was an overnight success. It was a 14-year night. From the time I got started as an entrepreneur to the first year I had my first six-figure year, it was 14 years. From the time I had my first six-figure year to the time I had my first seven-figure year, it was 3 or 4 years. From the time I had my first seven-figure year, well, then I went back to zero, so that kind of doesn't count. I went back to less than zero. And then, so that was, a couple of years. And then it took me another, 12 years to get to 8 figures. All I'm saying is this, stay on the journey. Learn from the framework. Learn from the seasons. That's the first law, the law of the farm. If you want, don't be surprised that it's hard when you get started. It's supposed to be hard. Because hard is the only thing that makes us better. You're not going to get better if it's easy. You're going to think you're the reason for the season if it's easy. Oh yeah, I did this. I'm so wonderful. You have no idea how great I am. Okay, good luck with that. Let me know how it works out for you. Okay, so we see the laws of the seasons, which are a framework, but then we see the law of the seed, which is the foundation. Think about a seed. Have you ever thought, really thought about a seed? Ever in your life? Have you ever just kind of held an apple seed or a watermelon seed or an orange seed or a lemon seed or an avocado seed in your hand? And you thought, How does a tree get in this little thing? Have you ever thought about it? It's mind-blowing. Like a seed, what is the laws of the seed are mind-blowing. Why? Because number one, you have the law of the identity. The identity of the tree and the fruit is determined by the seed. Are y'all tracking?
Yes.
No, I don't think y'all are. I'm gonna go over here and draw my blackboard here, Carlos. So when you understand that a seed is this little bitty thing, you got the ground. You have this little seed. If the seed is here, if this is me, and I've got this seed, okay, I'm gonna put the seed in my hand. I've got a seed in my hand. If I've got a seed in my hand, as long as that seed's in my hand, what does it grow? Nothing. My hand is not fertile ground for the avocado seed or the tomato seed or the orange seed or the apple seed. My hand is not fertile ground. The identity, by the way, if I plant that seed in the ground, once I plant the seed in the ground, let's say I put the seed in the ground. So let's say that I've got an apple seed in my hand and I plant it. But my desire is that I'll grow an orange tree. What does that tell you about me? I'm delusional. And see, what we don't realize is a lot of you, you're planting one seed and hoping for a different harvest. Say, well, how can I tell if I'm doing that? Look at the harvest you're getting. If it's not the harvest you're desiring, sow a different seed. Like, this is so simple and yet so powerful. Now, when I plant the seed in the ground, guess what happens? It has to sprout. It has to sprout, and then it starts growing roots. And guess what's happening? This tree is growing in two directions at the same time. It grows down. We have the root system, right? That's part of the seed knows that it has to go down if it's ever going to go up. And so, like, I'm not going to, just because I don't like the fact that the seed has to go down before it can go up, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? So the seed goes down, and then guess what happens? It eventually grows up, right? It eventually grows up and becomes a tree. The root system is the first part of the tree. This is the shoot system. And then it starts growing some what? Fruit. I wanted oranges, but I got apples. Well, you should have planted a different kind of seed, bruh. Right? This is the fruit system. The fruit system. The root system, the shoot system, and the fruit system are determined by the seed. Are y'all tracking? Oh, by the way, I don't know if you ever noticed this or not, but the root system, this is the be. The shoot system is the do. The fruit system is the have. Be, do, have. We find that same principle in there. How many of y'all tracking? Do you see how beautiful it is that God keeps saying the same things over and over and over again, and maybe one of these days we might get it. It's like we have our eureka moment, and we act as if the truth came into existence at the time that we realized it. But you notice that the tree is both gravitropic. What's gravitropic mean? Gravitropic means that it grows towards gravity and away from light. This is something the seed intuitively knows. Even if the sower doesn't know it, the seed knows it. The gravitropic nature of the tree is that it grows towards gravity and away from light. The phototropic nature of the tree, bet y'all can guess what that is that it grows towards light and away from gravity. A big part of our problem is we want the have without the do, and we want the do without the be. We want the shoot without the root, and we want the fruit without the shoot. And we want to have phototropic. We want everybody to see us. We want everybody to see us be nothing. Because we want the phototropic part, but we don't want the gravitropic part. And here's the reality. God is showing us on the law of the farm with the seed, if you don't go down, you can't go up. If you're tracking, let me hear you say I'm tracking. Okay, well then I'm going to go on to the next point. The fruit system, or the law of the seed is this. The identity is in the seed. But it's not just the identity that's in the seed. Y'all ready? The possibility is in the seed. Possibility. Isn't that an interesting word? Possibility. Positive ability is in the seed. Like, I don't have to teach the seed how to produce. I just have to plant the seed. The seed has built-in automation to do what only the seed can do. And do you understand that every thought is a seed? Every word is a seed. Every deed is a seed. Every dollar is a seed that I am sowing into the garden of my future. If I don't like the harvest I've been reaping, I must change the seed I've been sowing. Now, you know what we want to do? We're going to say, yeah, but I don't want to change a different kind of seed. I just want a different kind of sun. Maybe we can have a different kind of dirt to plant my seed in. You know, it's not fair that I have to plant a new seed. I've been planting this seed my whole life. It's the only seed I know how to plant. Isn't that how people sound? This is all I know how to do. I'm a forklift driver. I got 40 years of experience. You don't have 40 years of experience driving a forklift, bro. It don't take that long to learn how to drive one. You have 2 weeks of experience repeated over a 40-year time period, and you're calling it 40 years of experience. And that's not just for forklift drivers. So many of us stay stuck because we say that's all I know how to do, as if there's no opportunity for us to learn something new. Well, the possibilities is, the identity is in the seed. The possibility is in the seed. But guess what? That's not all. The law of ability is in the seed. The seed can do what the seed can do. You know what? Here's what's really amazing to me. That the Bible talks so much about farms. The first thing God ever said to a human was, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That's a farming analogy. That's a horticultural analogy. That's a gardening analogy. Be fruitful. What is that telling us? Well, what it's telling me, and by the way, when God made man, not only did he put him in a garden, but he made the man a gardener. But watch this. He didn't just make the man a gardener. He made the man a garden. So the gardener is also the garden. What do you mean the gardener is also the garden? Well, do you remember that God formed man of the dust of the ground? So the same dirt that God planted the seed in, because it says the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden. Adam didn't plant the garden. Adam was just supposed to protect the garden. God planted the garden. God planted a garden eastward in Eden. But it also says that the Lord God formed, made man, molded man of the dust of the ground. So I'm made of the same ground that my food grows out of. But then Adam was just a body laying there. There was no spirit in it. We can't really say it was dead because it had never been alive. It just was there. But watch what happens. It says, and the Lord breathed into the man's nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. When God breathed the breath of life into the man, he planted the seed of an aspect of God's own creativity inside of him. And based on the aspect of creativity that God planted inside of the man is supposed to cultivate that creativity. And just like the garden produces fruit, the human life is supposed to produce fruit. And guess what? They all do. Some of us produce fruit that's sweet. Some of us produce fruit that's sour. Some of us produce fruit that's rotten. But we all produce fruit. If we don't like the fruit, change the root. Don't paint the fruit. You're not going to paint an apple orange and turn it into an orange. Can I get a witness? Amen. And so we have to understand that the ability of the seed is in the seed. And God planted an aspect of his creativity inside of me, which means that just like the seed had to go down in the ground where nobody could see it, where nobody was clapping for it, it wasn't getting applause, nobody was cheering it on, it wasn't getting any accolades. In order for me to do something that's worth seeing in the light, I have to be willing to spend enough time in the damp, dark, difficult earth so that I can become something that only the dirt can make me. Only the difficulty can make me. And then when I push up and I start shooting, oh man, I start shooting up, I reach, and all of a sudden the fruit starts, oh man, this is turning into something. Well, I declare, who knew? God knew. And he's told us enough times that we probably should know by now. So the ability of the fruit is, or the law of ability is also in the seed, but also the law of generosity is in the seed. What does that mean? This tree doesn't get to benefit from this fruit. The fruit is for someone other than the tree. Guess what? That means that what God put in you to create, he put it in you to create by you, but not for you. All the profit that you're looking for, all of the wealth and success you're looking for is on the other side of serving someone other than yourself. Who knew all this? We could learn it from the farm. Myron, I thought you only worked on the farm for one day. I did, but I was pulling sorghum. Wasn't planting anything. This was not fun. Okay. This kind of farming, oh, this is fun. Okay. So we see the law of the seasons. That's the framework. We see the law of the seed. That's the foundation. And then we see the law of sowing. That's the farmer. That addresses you and I as the farmers. It is our job. We are a farmer. We are the gardener of our lives. It is our job to be constantly and perpetually planting, cultivating, keeping, protecting the garden that is us. Now, here's the interesting thing about the law of the farmer, the law of sowing and the farmer. You reap what you sow. So if you don't like the harvest you're getting, change the seed you're sowing. People want to sow laziness and reap abundance. It doesn't work. People want to sow blame and reap a bounty. It doesn't work. Like, all of us I've not met a person. I have not met a person who hasn't had something done to them that was evil. Like, people don't always do good stuff. Okay, you've been mistreated. I'm not minimizing that. But if you turn that into your story, you miss the point. You've had a hard life. I get it. You've had a hard life because you were put here on this planet to help people with hard lives. I get it. You've gone through some stuff. I know the reason you went through some stuff is so you'd know the way through, so you could help some other people through that same stuff. I'm not minimizing the fact that your life has been hard. I get it. But your hard life was not an accident. It was a part of the design of your purpose. And until you embrace the burden, like you embrace the blessing, you won't receive all of the blessing from the burden you've received. You reap what you sow. But guess what? You don't reap when you sow, you reap later than you sow. So guess what that means? Keep on sowing. I love, don't stop sowing. Don't stop sowing into the garden that is you. Don't stop learning. Don't stop growing. Don't stop figuring things out. Don't stop asking questions. Don't stop being interested. Don't stop being curious. Because you reap what you sow, but you reap later than you sow. That's the tough news. You reap later than you. The good news is you reap what you sow. The tough news is you reap later than you sow. But you want to know what the great news is? If you're ready for the great news, let me hear you say I'm ready. Ready. Okay. You reap more than you sow. Isn't that exciting? You reap more than you sow a seed and reap a tree. Shut up. Plant this little bitty thing in the ground, and this big old thing comes up out of the ground eventually. And see, a part of our problem is we want to rush eventually. But here, I've got news for you. Eventually don't get in a hurry. It only shows up just in time. You reap later than you sow, but you reap more than you sow. I know y'all have heard me say it a quadrillion and a half times, 11 million times. Any fool, this is a Warren Wiersbe quote, this is not an original Myron Golden quote, but I love it so much. Any fool can count the number of seeds in an apple, but only God can count the number of apples in a seed. What if every time you looked at your seed, you said, God, thank you for the harvest that this seed will produce? Because you realized that it reaps more than you sow. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So good. I'll be honest with you. There are aspects of my life that I hated when I was a child. I'm glad I didn't just get through them, and I'm glad I didn't just get past them. I'm glad I got from them exactly what God desired for me to get from them. As a child, I hated the hardship of our lives. As an adult, I can see how every single solitary aspect of that hardship was absolutely essential for me to step into my purpose. But not only do you reap what you sow, and you reap later than you sow, and you reap more than you sow, you risk when you sow. And that's why some people don't sow. Because when you got it in your hand, at least you have the illusion of control. Can I get a witness? You have the illusion of, but I have the seed. It's just an illusion. Your ability to control that seed at all while it's in your hand is delusional. If you do not plant it in the ground, it remains a seed. And which means you have to plant it. And when you plant it, now it's under the ground. You can't see it. You can't tell if it's sprouting. You can't tell if it's germinating. You can't tell if it's sucking in the nutrients it needs. It's completely out of your control. Do you understand that it is your job to do your part? And it's also your job to trust God to do his part. Because you can't do his part and he won't do your part. And so many people are walking around praying every morning for God to do the thing he sent them here to do, while at the same time attempting to do the thing that only he can do. Flip the script. Get back to square one, baby. The law of sowing is the farmer. And then lastly, we have the law of sacrifice. This is fundamental to everything in life. This is the fundamentals. What's that? The law of sacrifice. What is it? The law of release. If you hold on, you can't receive. If you don't release, you can't receive. We have to release a seed. Now, this is the part where a lot of preachers will tell you, so here's what you do, sow a seed into my life. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to say, if you sow a seed into my life, God's going to bless you. I'll say, if you sow a seed into my life, God might bless you. Then again, maybe not. I don't know. I don't have any blessings for sale. But I will tell you this. There are things that you've been holding on too tightly to that you've got to let go of. Some people are holding on to the seed of potential, and they won't release it because they're too afraid of what people will think of them if they plant it and it grows nothing. Or what the names people will call them in the summertime, and it's not even harvest yet. The law of the release. Now, when you release the seed, you are not released from your responsibility to the seed. What does that mean? Once the farmer, the gardener, plants the seed, you still have work to do. It's just not planting work. It's watering work. You have to saturate the soil that the seed is in because the seed needs water. It's weed pulling work. Now, I've always been fascinated by this. Food has to be planted. Weeds don't have to be planted. Nobody has to plant the weeds. What's up with that? Can we just have it the other way around? So the food just grows and then we got to plant the weed? No. You don't have to plant weeds. Weeds grow because food is there. And weeds are parasites. They want the same nutrients that the crops want. And it's our job to pull the weeds so there's enough nutrients for the plant that's growing out of the seed. By the way, that's the work that we do in summertime. Yeah, we're happy, but we still got to pull some weeds. Yeah, we're happy, but we still have to water the soil. Yeah, we're happy, but we might have to put some fertilizer down. I get it. The law of release, the law of responsibility. My responsibility to the seed does not end once I release the seed. I must keep working. Jim Rohn told the story. He said, I showed a friend my garden. I don't remember who he said this. I showed a friend my garden. I said, well, I planted this, and I planted that, and I planted this, and I planted that, and now look what it's grown into. And the man said, yeah, this is an amazing garden you and God planted. He said, yeah, but you should have seen it when God had it all by himself. What does that mean? You have a responsibility. God's not going to do the whole thing for you. God will put you in the place where the potential exists. He will give you access to the seed, but you must still plant it. The law of release, the law of responsibility, the law of reproductivity. Everything reproduces after its own kind. You choose the type of harvest when you choose the seed. When you choose the seed. When you pick what seed you're going to plant, you picked what harvest you're going to be able to reap in the fall. Some of you chose a seed that produced something you don't like a long time ago, and now it's harvest time, and you're like, but I don't want this harvest. Well, plant a new seed, because you planted it. We don't want to see. It's easier for me to blame the government. It's easier for me to blame my parents. It's easier for me to blame my spouse. It's easier for me to blame my children. It's easier for me to blame my neighbors. It's easier for me to blame my siblings. It's like when Jesus came to the man who was lame for 38 years, and he asked him what seemed to be a ridiculous question until the man gave him a ridiculous answer. He said, "Would you like to be healed?" What kind of question is that? This man's been lame 38 years. What person who's been lame for 38 years doesn't want to be healed? But the man didn't say yes. He didn't give a resounding, "I would love to be healed." He gave three excuses. Excuses oftentimes come in threes. Here's what he said. He said, "It's somebody else's fault." That's the first thing he said. He said, "I'm doing the best I can." And he said, "Other people are better than me." Have you used any of those excuses lately? Say what you mean he said that. First he said, "I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. It's somebody else's fault. It's my mother's fault. She didn't help me. It's my father's fault. He didn't help me. It's my brother's fault. It's my neighbor's fault. It's my friend's fault. It's my children's fault. I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool." He began to make excuses. He didn't even give an answer. He didn't even just say, "Yes, I'd like to be healed." He said, "I'm doing the best I can." He said, "But while I am coming." So I'm trying to get in there, but somebody always beats me. Other people are better than me. Another steppeth in before me. And Jesus said, he didn't say, "All you poor thing." He said, "Arise, take up your bed and walk." It's time to stop making excuses and get stepping. By the way, he didn't just say get up and walk. He said, "Take up your bed and walk." Why did he say that? He said that because Jesus was telling this man, it's time for you to start carrying the things that have been carrying you. Everything reproduces after its own kind. That's the law of reproductivity. And the law of reward. Your results are your reward. Whether they're desirable results or undesirable results, they are the rewards you get for the seed that you've sown. So I'll say it one last time. If you don't like the fruit, change the root. How do I do that? Plant a different seed. These lessons can make you wealthy and abundant beyond your wildest imaginations if you'll receive them and not resist them. I heard somebody say one time, the law of the farm reigns supreme in all the universe. Maybe that's why God talks so much about trees, gardens, fruits, and farmers in the Bible. I hope this helps you. Go apply these principles to your business and watch what happens. And I'll look forward to seeing you in summertime. Bye for now.